Hi, we're here at the Sipes Wilderness Area, and on today's program we're going to find out why birds are fantastic. So welcome. See wild birds in your yard? I just think they're really interesting because there's so many different kinds up here. I brought a book to share today. This is called The Pigeon Needs a Bath, and it's by Mo Willems. If you've read any of the pigeon books, they're all really funny. There's a bunch of different ones. Here's the guy in the book. He says, "Hi, I don't know if you've noticed, but the pigeon is just filthy. So I could use your help because the pigeon needs a bath." And the pigeon says, "Well, that's a matter of opinion." What a kidder. I don't really need a bath. I really love the guy's bunny slippers as he walks away. That's very funny. He looks pretty dirty, doesn't he? I took one last month. I think it was last month. Ugh, he's scratching his head. Clean, dirty. They're just words, right? I feel clean. Maybe you need a bath. Yeah. When was the last time you had a bath? Oh, that was pretty recently. Life is so short. Why waste it on unimportant things like taking a bath? As usual, he's always got very strong opinions about things. What smell? I don't smell anything. And if I do, it's a very normal smell for a pigeon. You know, in some places it's impolite to bathe. Sounds like he's making excuses. All of these flies buzzing around me are purely coincidental. Flies are buzzing around. Bzzz. Well, that's never good if the flies follow you around. The flies are saying, "P.U., yuck, let's get out of here." And then the flies say, "Take a bath, dude." Uh-oh. Well, if the flies think you should take a bath, then I think you really should take a bath. Okay, fine. If it means so much to you, I'll take a bath. Whoa. I'm not going to like this one bit. There's a rubber ducky. He has a little ducky friend in some of the other books. The water's too hot. Now it's too cold. It's too deep. It's not deep enough. It's too lukewarm. It's too hot. It's too cold. Now it's too hot again. Too wet. Too cold. Too reflective. He's looking at himself in the water. Not enough toys. Uh-oh. Too many toys. No room for the pigeon. That is still too hot. Well, I guess it's okay. Splat! Splash! So we finally got in. Hey, this is fun. Wash, wash, wash. I love bubbles. Hey, look at my wrinkly toes. La, 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 singing in the tub. This is the life. Hello? Hello? How are you? I'm fine. He's talking to the rubber ducky. Oh, he's using his wing. He says, look, I'm a fish. I'm a fish. Looks like a shark. Oh, that's pretty funny. 10 hours later. Can I stay in the tub forever? I don't think that's going to work either, but clearly he's gotten over his fear of taking a bath. There he is again, splashing around. So I think he's going to take a bath every day from now on. So that's a great book. I love all the pigeon books. And now I'm going to show you how to make your very own bird feeder. This is a really easy craft because I'm sure you have the stuff for this laying around at home. The first thing that you need is a plastic jug. This could be from milk or orange juice or something like that. Make sure you rinse it out really well so there's not any food or gunk in there left. Rinse it out really well, turn it upside down and let it dry out completely. I have a gallon, and then I also brought a little, I think this is a half gallon. We're gonna try and make one of those today too. So you need a jug. You also need a small knife. I brought some wire cutters for cutting a piece of a wooden dowel rod. You definitely need a marker of some kind. I brought Sharpie markers because they're permanent. You could use a Crayola marker. You know, you just need something to just make a picture of the window you're going to cut out. You need a knife. You're going to need a little adult supervision with this, or somebody that's older that can help you, because you will need a sharp knife just to get things started. A pair of scissors, an ice pick, or it could be something pointy like a skewer or an ice pick. Again, be really super careful with it and have an adult help you. And a few pipe cleaners. If you don't have pipe cleaners, you could use a little piece of wire that you have hanging around. Just something that's going to make the little handle for that. You could use a piece of yarn. Make sure you check with your parents first to make sure you're not using your mother's good sewing scissors to cut stuff. So make sure that all the tools that you're using are okay to use for craft projects. And the last thing, you don't have to have this. It's a wooden dowel rod, or even if you have a little straight stick in your yard, a little twig or something, that will go through the side of the, it'll make a little perch for the bird. It'll go through the side of the jug. So all of those things, you don't have to have the perch, but the birds will probably like it if you do. So I'm going to scoop these out of the way. So the first thing that you want to do is draw the little window that the birds are going to fly up to and land and see the seeds and kind of hop in there. If you had trouble getting the label off like I did, that's no problem, because we're just going to cut that part out. So what you're going to do is just kind of draw a shape that'll almost look like a horseshoe. So we're going to just draw a little window on there. It looks like a U, and then it'll have a flap on them just like that. And then you're going to turn it onto the other side and draw that same shape. And like I said, it's going to look like a U. So those are going to be the windows that we're going to cut out. And you just put 2 windows because you want to keep the back of this nice and sturdy so it doesn't get too flimsy. Okay, so we've cut our windows, and now we're going to use a little knife, and like I said, have an adult help you with this. This is the only part that's kind of tricky, because we're going to cut out across the shape that we just cut out. So you could use a knife to just cut the whole thing out, or have a parent help you with that. So I did that. I'm going to use the scissors also. That works just as well. Once you get it started, you have to make a little slit in there so you can get the scissors in there, and then you can just go ahead and cut it out with that too. So either way works. You can probably cut it out with the scissors. So just cut out those 2 shapes really quick. And like I said, that's going to be the little window where the bird will fly up and see the seeds. Okay, there's that. Okay, and then turn it on its side. You need to start the other one. It's easiest to start it at the bottom.
It's always a good idea to cut away from you, just in case something weird happens. That way if something slips, your knife will be moving away from you. Set that down. Like I said, grab the scissors. Cut out that other little window. This actually goes pretty quick. All right, so when you're finished, looks like you have a little house that you can see through. So the birds will fly up and land on both of these little perches right here. Let me scoot these other things out of the way. And we're almost finished. What you need to do is use an ice pick or a skewer or some pointy metal thing that you can poke through the top. Again, have an adult help you with this. You want to be really safe. And you're just going to poke a hole between the lid and where the actual bottle starts, because we're going to make a little handle. So be super careful. Poke a hole with that, kind of twirl the ice pick or the skewer around a little. And then you just want to go across to the opposite side. Poke another hole in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, be very careful poking a hole so you don't poke yourself. Okay, so there's the holes for the handle. Set that aside. Take a pipe cleaner. Just going to kind of poke it through there. If you have trouble getting it to go through, you can kind of go through it from the inside. This is the hardest part of this whole thing. There we go. So you just poke that through, and then you're just going to kind of wind it around on both sides, and that's going to make your little handle to hang it from a tree. You can hang it from a piece of yarn. You can hang it from a wire if you have a bird feeding hook. All of those things work. You might, if you're hanging it from a little bird feeder hook, you might want to twist the top. As we all know, it gets really windy up here, so you know, something where if it's empty, it won't want to blow away and never be seen again. So you might want to twist that around the top. You want to put the seed in here. One other really important thing, on the bottom of it, you're going to poke some really small holes with your ice pick or your skewer. You do not want your bird seed to get wet and moldy, because that can actually make the birds sick if they eat moldy bird seed. So put some drainage holes in here in case it does rain a little bit. The rain will just drip out the bottom. Again, be really super careful poking those in there. Okay, and just twirl it around a little bit. I usually put about 4. Like I said, that will make sure that the water all drains out of there. There's 3 and 1 more. There's that. There's one other thing that you can do if you want to be really fancy. If you have a stick or a dowel or a twig laying around your yard, you can cut a little tiny hole in the bottom and make a perch for the birds. And again, be super careful. So you're just going to cut a little tiny hole, just twirl it around just a little bit, because you want that stick to be in there really tight. Okay. So I made a little hole on top. I'm going to make another hole. We're going to poke the dowel rod through so we can kind of measure where to put the hole on the other side. Just poke that straight through. Okay. That'll kind of give you an idea. You can kind of see on the other side where to put the little perch. Okay, I'm going to do that. And the birds don't care if it's perfectly up and down. They're just glad they have a little thing to perch on, so don't worry about getting it perfect. Okay, so I made another hole. I'm going to poke that through. So there's our little perch, and some birds will come and perch on this too, and then they'll fly around and perch on that. So don't worry about, just leave that there. And then the last thing, to cut the dowel rod, I use wire cutters. I mean, if you had a little saw, you know, whatever you need to cut it with, wire cutters work pretty well. Just kind of pinch it, and kind of twirl the wood around, just keep doing that until just kind of weakens the wood where you're going to cut it off. There we go. Okay, so that has a perch. Hang it in a tree and fill it. Birds almost every bird that lives up here likes the little black, they're called black oil sunflower seeds, they're the little black ones. The big stripy sunflower seeds, a lot of the birds' beaks aren't strong enough to crack those open. So if you want to put out sunflower seeds, make sure it's always the little black ones. But they like wild bird seed, you can throw out corn, there's all kinds of stuff. And different birds like different seeds and things, so if you throw out one thing, you'll see different things in your yard. But almost every bird likes black oil sunflower seeds. So just fill that up, hang it in a tree, and hopefully, like I said, be patient. It takes birds a while to kind of figure out, wow, there's some food here that I can come and get. So hang it up in a tree and wait a little while, and pretty soon you'll have birds coming to your feeder. And now let's go to the Sipes Wilderness and find out what hummingbird banding is all about.
Hi, I'm here with Sherry Williamson at the Sipes Wilderness event. And thanks for taking time to talk with us today.
Absolutely, delighted to do
You're
it.
definitely an expert. That's the way you handle the birds. No, you can tell that. So we were here about 6 years ago, and we can tell that the event's just a little bit bigger now.
It's a little bit bigger. It's really gratifying to us how many people are coming out to enjoy this event, and we're so grateful to Arizona Game and Fish for putting this event on. It really is wonderful outreach to the public, and really the members of the public that might never have been to Site before.
Right.
So
a lot of people
I talk to. It's a great way for people
to
get to know this fantastic place and have a good excuse to come out, learn about it, and maybe plan another trip to come
have
out
a picnic.
for other things.
So yeah, a lot of the people I talked to today had never been here before, so that's awesome.
That is awesome. It really is, because this is such a beautiful place, and there's so many other interesting things to do. Game and Fish does other things,
We were
elk
looking at some of the
bugling
other
and all.
booths.
Yeah.
So how many other places do you band hummingbirds in Arizona?
Well, we've got, we have 2 other banding stations that are our regular banding stations that we band much more often. We just do this once a year, but even once a year, if it's done about the same time of year and done consistently, can give us some really good information. But our main banding station is at the San Pedro House Visitor Center of the San Pedro Riparian National Conservation Area, which is a property managed by the Bureau of Land Management down in Cochise County. And the San Pedro House, it's an old historic house, but it has volunteers that keep the place open every day of the week, and they can maintain the hummingbird feeders. They also have a garden of native and desert adapted plants around the San Pedro House.
So how often do you band there?
We band there once a week.
Oh wow.
Yes,
okay, so
once a week.
Okay.
We take a little break during the heat of June when all the birds are really doing is nesting, and we don't really get a whole lot of extra information by bothering them when it's so hot and they're under that stress. But we band them from, we're working from generally the end of March through April to the 1st of June, and then we start up again toward the end of June, because that's when a lot of the babies are out flying around on their own for the first time. And then we band from around the end of June, 1st of July, right on through to the end of September, 1st of October. And by taking a weekly snapshot, we just band for 2 hours at a time there, because we don't want to catch all the birds. We just want to catch a little snapshot. And that gives us a chance to get that snapshot of what birds are there, what condition they're in. Are they breeding? Are they migrating? How are they coping with challenges? You know, are they full of parasites and things like that? What plants are they feeding on? We look at the pollen that they may have on their foreheads, throats, and bills, so we know what plants they may be feeding on. And when we do that through that whole long season with that very short break, that gives us a lot of information about how the birds are prospering on that area, the local breeding birds, the migrating birds like the rufous and the broadtails and the calliopes, some of the rarer visitors. We've banded 11 species of hummingbirds on the San Pedro, including some rarities like Lucifer hummingbird, which is fairly rare in Arizona. We've had Allen's hummingbird, which most people think of as a California bird, but small numbers of them migrate through southeastern Arizona. So yeah, we've had a tremendous diversity down there. It's mainly our black chins, though, our thousands and thousands of black chin hummingbirds.
In fact, can you grab the little?
Our
little buddy there.
Yeah,
so this is
made by.
Look at that one.
This is made by one of our supporters. This is a little needle-felted male black chin. She tried to make him accurate to size, and of course, first thing we did was put a little band on his leg.
Of course, so he'll never be lost. That's
but the females don't have the color on the throat, so they're just little plain gray and green birds. But they tell us so much, because we can blow the feathers back from their little bellies and check them for eggs during the breeding season. We check birds of both sexes and all ages for the presence of parasites. to determine how healthy they are, how vigorous they are. If they got a lot of parasites, they're not feeling well, and we see that in drought years like this. We're seeing quite a few parasites on the birds here at site. Yeah, it's tough on them. It's very tough.
So how many species have you banded here today? How many different species?
Here today, well, it's quite wonderful because we've had 4 species, and usually we only expect 3, and some years we only get 2.
Wow.
Now the broad-tailed hummingbird is the common local breeder here in the pine fir forest, pine fir spruce forests around site. But nearby at lower elevations there are black-chinned hummingbirds. But we've only ever caught 1 black-chinned hummingbird before here at site, and today we caught our 2nd black-chinned at site. So those are 2 local breeding birds. And then the 2 common migrants are the rufous hummingbird, which they're the savage little orange Tasmanian devils that are such a pain at feeders. And then the calliope hummingbird, the smallest bird of any species in the U.S. and Canada.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the males at lean weight only weigh about as much as a dime.
Oh wow, that's pretty small.
Yeah, we're catching fat ones though. They're fattening
oh, that's
up,
good.
So,
then they're getting
so
plenty
they're weighing
of
about
food.
as much as a penny.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're getting plenty of food. And has the fires around here affected the numbers of the hummingbirds you see?
Well, that's an interesting question because fire can do a couple of things. One, in the short term, it can really do a number on the habitat.
Right.
And it can cause a real short-term hardships for the local breeding birds especially. But one of the fabulous things about fire is that it's nature's way of recycling a lot of nutrients. These relatively dry, cold forests in the mountains of Arizona, it's not like the Pacific Northwest or the eastern forests where things rot. Things just don't rot very quickly here in our forests.
No,
so we have to have fire to recycle the nutrients. And it's amazing how that wood ash from those wildfires is like fertilizer. It's like dumping tons of fertilizer on the environment. And what we see is that as long as we get decent rainfall following the fires, there will be an explosion of wildflowers.
Cool.
That's great from the bird standpoint. It's not so good for those of us who are trying to monitor the birds' populations though, because the hummingbirds prefer wildflowers when they're present, and they will abandon the feeders. So we don't catch as many when there's good wildflower populations. This year we're catching a lot. There's enormous amounts of activity around.
Just getting caught up with the rain.
Because the monsoon has been so weak and stingy so far this year.
And then this event's usually late July, correct?
It's usually, we usually go to do it the last Saturday of July.
Okay, so
we'll be here next year, I hope, as long as Game and Fish keeps inviting us
Well,
back.
I hope I can come and watch what you do because it's so interesting.
It's a lot of fun. It's a real privilege for us to share it with the public too. You know, we really enjoy interacting with the public.
It is, and we get everybody out here to be interested in the woods. So.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll see you back at the library.
That was so cool at the Sipes Wilderness, seeing all those hummingbirds. I don't think I've ever seen that many hummingbirds in one spot in my whole life. That was so pretty and cool. I brought some companion books that you can come and check out at the library. The first one is called the Hummingbird Book. So if you want to read more about all those different kinds of hummingbirds that we saw today, there's a lot of them that live in Arizona, you can check out this book. It talks a little bit about hummingbird flowers and their habits that they have, and then there's all different kinds of hummingbirds. Here's the little flight pattern they fly when they're doing courtship flying. So if you like hummingbirds, this is an awesome book to check out. I also brought 2 books to help you identify other birds that you might see. The first one is called Birds of Arizona, and the second one is called The Young Birder's Guide. So both of those are really great books. I really like the Birds of Arizona because if you're just getting started, this little book, it isn't very big, and all of these birds live in Arizona, so you don't have to worry about something that might live, you know, in Maine or, you know, back east or somewhere else. All these books, all the birds in this book are just from Arizona. And it's pretty easy. There's a little color tab that shows you how to identify the birds on the edge, so if the bird's brown or gray. So that's a really easy book to use. And then the Young Birder's Guide has a little bit more detail about bird watching in general and binoculars and things like that. But this is all over North America, so this is not just Arizona, but this is a great book too. I also brought a book of bird feeders that you can make at home. There's a lot of recycled materials and stuff, just like the one that I showed you how to make earlier. So this is a very fun book. And I have to show you my favorite one, of course. There's one that looks like a mushroom. Haha. So there's all different shapes and things, animals, bugs, there's a spider, different kinds of bottles. So this one's great for things you have laying around at home. More bird feeders. I also have backyard bird watching for kids. This talks a little bit about all kinds of different aspects of bird watching, feeders and homes and all different things. This is a very cool book too. Here's a way to get birds to sit on you in the wintertime. You make a person and like a scarecrow, and then you put the same clothes on, and the birds will actually, if you sit really still, the birds will come over and watch you. So that's a cool book. It talks about what different kinds of seeds for bird treats and what kinds of things to bring to eat for them. And then I brought 2 picture books. This is called Tom's Tweet. This is a really cute book about a bird and a cat, and they have a very special relationship. It's very funny. So that is Tom's Tweet. And last, I brought a book called Tea with Lady Sapphire, and that's a really cool book too. These are the same guys that did the Stranger in the Woods book, so that's really fun. And of course, as always, they always have fantastic photographs in there too. So there's some blue jays and some cardinals. So that's a fun picture book to read too. Oh, you even get turkeys in their yard. We get turkeys up here too. So all these different bird books, I hope that you finally are able to make a little bit of space in your yard for birds. And be patient. When you put up bird feeders and things, it takes the birds a little while to figure out, oh gosh, there's food in the yard and I should come and get that. So just look every day, and one of these days you'll see some cool birds out in your yard. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Adventures with Books has been paid for in part by the Show Low Library Friends. If you'd like to become a member of the Show Low Library Friends, please call 532-4070.